Hi, today I am doing a swatch and review of the Hansen Insta-dri Luxe Finish. Don't think these are necessarily a collection, although I did see them in my local Fred Meyer's, like all together on like a little display case. And there's at least one other that I did not pick up. I think it was called Threadbare or something like that. It was kind of a dusty rose pink, but it didn't look like it had a shimmer. And I'm guessing it might have been a matte finish one. So anyway, 3 of these Luxe Finishes are, they dry down matte, so they're a matte finish, and 3 of them are a glossy finish. And it's just kind of fun to see like mainstream and drugstore brands doing like different fun finishes and shimmers. And before I start, I do like to say what's on my nails. I did some water marbling and a skittle with all 6 colors. But anyway, let's just get into the swatches. The first one I'm going to swatch out is called the Queen's Velvet, and it dries with the velvet finish. Part of the reason I didn't think they're a collection is because I got this one on its own several months ago, and I didn't see the other ones with it, but I could be wrong. This could just be an old collection. Anyway, it goes on very easily in 2 coats. This is the hardest one to remove though because of those like tiny particle glitters. But it is very smooth and easy application, and it's fully opaque in 2 coats. And I guess I shouldn't say that's hard to remove because of the glitters, but I feel like I'll have some of those tiny glitters just on my fingers for the rest of my life. It's hard to get all of them gone. So here is the Queen's Velvet in 2 coats, and I really like the way that it dries down kind of partially matte. Next up is Lavish Lilac, and it's kind of a light lilac purple with a purpley shimmer. This one ended up being 3 coats on me, and it also dries down that kind of partial matte finish or velvet finish. I personally prefer it glossy, but it's just a personal preference. I think the shimmer shows up a little bit better if you add a glossy top coat. But it's easy to apply and easy to remove, and it was fully opaque on me in 3 coats. And it is self-leveling. It looks a little bit streaky on application, or maybe even a little bit pearlized, but by the time that it dries, it evens out. This was the only one that I was a tiny bit disappointed in, especially since it is a 3-coater. I personally just don't think it adds anything to the color to have that velvet finish. And I do have other polishes that are very similar in color and have a similar shimmer. So here is Lush Lilac in 3 coats, and I just let it dry down to the velvet finish. Next is Exstrava-grey, which is a very interesting one. I actually liked it quite a bit, and I don't have anything quite like it. It's very opaque, and it could actually be a 1-coater, but I normally just add that 2nd coat anyway, just because that's how I normally wear polish. So in the bottle, it looks like it has a bit of a shimmer, but it doesn't really show up once it's dry, but the velvet finish does make a really interesting texture, especially for this color. And Exstrava-grey is very easy to apply, dries quickly, and is very easy to remove. Here is Exstrava-grey in 2 coats, and I let it dry down to the velvet finish. Now we're moving on to the glossy finishes. This one is called Silk Is ... and it's a white with a gold shimmer. This one was also 3 coats on me. So for the video, I did build it up to opacity in 3 coats, but I actually think it looks pretty good being just like a tiny bit sheer in 2 coats, and so that's how I would wear it normally. And this is very easy to apply and remove. The shimmer glitters don't really stick around quite like they did with the Queen's Velvet. So here is Silk Is ... in 3 coats. Next up is Pink Plush, and it's one of my favorites out of these 6. I was surprised how much I liked it. I have a lot of pink in my undertone, and so sometimes they don't look great on me, but I thought this one did. I really like the gold shimmer in it, and it shows up really well even after it dries down. This is another one that I ended up building up to opacity in 3 coats. Although, once again, I will probably end up wearing it in 2 coats and have it just a little bit sheer. And once again, this was easy to apply and easy to remove. As you're applying it, it looks a tiny bit pearlized. You could kind of see those vertical brush strokes, but those kind of even out and go away as it dries. So here is Pink Plush in 3 coats. I really like how well the shimmer shows up in this one. And last up we have Glos-sea. It's a light blue with a kind of purpley shimmer. Glos-sea also took 3 coats to be fully opaque, although depending on nail length and application, a lot of people could probably do it in 2. I personally just didn't really like how it looked being a little bit sheer, so I built it up all the way. And Glos-sea has a very similar, or maybe even same formula as the Pink Plush and the Silk Is ... so it was easy to apply and easy to remove. I was a little bit disappointed that once it dries down, you don't see the shimmer very well. It's still there, it's just not super noticeable, even once you've built it up all the way. Glos-sea was a little bit harder to find in stores. I think I ended up going to a few different stores to finally get my hands on it. And I do have other similar colors. So here is Glos-sea in 3 coats. So moving on to comparisons. For the 3 matte finishes, I used a matte top coat on the polishes that I am comparing them to, just so that they look more similar. Really, you could matte top coat anything you want, or glossy top coat anything, just depending on how you like it. So my first comparison is with the Queen's Velvet, and I was using China glazes for the Dreamers from the Wonka collection and Zoya's Tink. I feel like for the Dreamers is closer to the Queen's Velvet in color. They're all slightly different. And Zoya's Tink has a little bit of these tiny gold glitters, and it leans a little bit more pink. And of course the China Glaze has bigger size glitters. Next up is Lavish Lilac. And I compared it to China Glaze's Lavender Haze and Salon Perfect's Peekaboo. In the bottles, the Peekaboo and Luscious Lilac or Lavish Lilac didn't look as similar as they do once it dries down, especially with a matte top coat. I thought that it looked more similar to Lavender Haze when they're in the bottle. They do definitely have a different shimmer. And Lavender Haze is lighter. But really, if you already have one of these, you probably do not need to or want to buy the other one. They are pretty similar once you put a matte top coat on. The last of the ones that I have with a matte finish is Exstrava-grey. And I compared it to Orly's Mirror Mirror and Zoya's Tyrian. So in the bottle, these looked more similar. I really just don't have anything quite like Exstrava-grey. So the Zoya is darker and it has maybe a bit more of a blue undertone. And the Orly Mirror Mirror is quite a bit lighter. But that might be kind of fun to do a gradient with. Or maybe make some storm clouds or something. Okay, moving on to the gloss finishes. I have Glos-sea, which is the blue. The shimmer does not show up very well once the polish is dry. So it actually ended up being very similar to Essie's Tulips Touch. So once again, if you already have one of them, you probably don't necessarily want to purchase the other. And in the bottle, I thought that these two looked more similar than they do. This is OPI's Pisces the Future, and it is quite a bit more green leaning, more of a teal. So it's really not very similar at all. Next up is Silk Is ... and I compared it to Holo Taco's Sugar Rush from the Rock Candy collection and Orly's Sea Spray from, I think it was called the Aqua Aura collection. And the Sally Hansen is kind of just in between the two, really. It has a more similar, I guess, shade of white and shimmer to the Orly, but its texture is a lot closer to the Holo Taco. Now finally, Pink Plush, which is actually might make it onto my favorites pink video. Oops, I got a lot of cat fur. My cat Lightning was very invested in the making of this video earlier. But anyway, I compared Pink Plush to Zoya's Wanda. Compared it to Zoya's Wanda, which has some kind of larger particle gold shimmer in it. And to Orly's Wistful Water Lily, also from the Aqua Aura collection. And again, I think it was kind of in between these. The Orly has a blue shimmer, so that's different, but the texture is more similar to the Sally Hansen. And the Zoya was closer in color, especially with the shimmer. So what did you think? Do you already have some of these? Are you planning on getting them? Do you like to matte top coat them? Or would you rather just put a glossy on top? Or does it just depend on your mood or what you're doing? I would love to hear about it in the comments, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!